Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing this morning?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Where's everyone from and around for this group?
I'm in New York. My name's Michael.
Okay, I'm Leland, and I'm from British Columbia, Canada.
Neat.
Yeah, it's still like pitch dark outside where I'm from.
Yeah, it's getting into that season now too.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So from British Columbia, how far is a plane to Alaska?
I don't know. I've actually never been to Alaska, but I would guess maybe 2 or 3 hours. I'm actually flying to northern BC in this February, so I'll have a better idea by then probably.
I hear it's like one of the nicest. British Columbia is like one of the nicest places nature-wise on the planet.
Yeah, I believe it's we have a very diverse ecosystem here for British Columbia. Like we've got mountains, lakes, and goes all the way to the coastline. So it's quite the variety. And yeah, I wouldn't prefer. Well, I would definitely try to live in other places, but I definitely like where I am right now. So
Nice.
yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, good morning, good morning.
Hey, good morning out there. It's Sean, and happy Trajectory Tuesday, everybody. Hope everybody had an awesome Monday, Mastery Monday. So on Trajectory Tuesday, we like to chat a bit about how non-linear and how exponential our growth can be. So the question for today for you is, how can you take whatever your growth is, your acceleration is, and create an immediate shift to not only get a 5 or 10% increase, but to get a 50, 100% increase? And this is a lot more simple than people would typically think. So that's an opening question. A secondary piece that we're going to touch on, and we're actually going to start here and then loop it back into how we accelerate our trajectory, is how we go about influencing human beings. So there's been, from the dawn of personal development time, if you will, going back to the days of Dale Carnegie and How to Win Friends and Influence People, people have been appropriately interested, if not obsessed, with the idea of how do we create relationships with other human beings. Because if you think about it, this is, as we talk about often, the great superpower. You have Oprah, for example. Let's talk about nonlinear acceleration. So you have Oprah that's out there that over time builds incredible relationships and trust with people. And the byproduct of that influencing capability, that influencing ecosystem power, is the fact that Oprah can instantly turn anybody's book into a bestseller. Oprah can create a Dr. Phil virtually overnight. When Dr. Phil met Oprah, his net worth was somewhere around $2 million. And if you look at Dr. Phil today, I believe his net worth is north of $300 million. So Oprah not only has the power to influence people to say yes to her, she has the power to influence other people to say yes, wave a magic wand, and have exponential 9-figure wealth accumulate to a person like Dr. Phil. Like, let that sink in for a second to understand the superpower of influence. Similarly, right, we have this interesting culture. I'm an athlete growing up, so I'm not mocking it. But we have this interesting culture of sports. And in sports, we have something called the Super Bowl. So let's think about the power. And in fact, with my son, just this past Sunday, before we went back to school, he's at the University of Maryland, we went and grabbed something to eat real quick. So we walked into a local pubish kind of place, and it was mobbed with people. And the people that it was mobbed with were yelling and screaming at a television. They were high-fiving each other. They were hugging one another. And they were just watching a Jet game in which the Jets were getting killed. But every time the Jets did something at least moderately successful in the first half, they got wildly excited. That's because the NFL has done such an incredible job of branding its unique identity that people literally not only dedicate their Sundays to watching it, they literally dedicate money and time to playing something called fantasy, which is an extraordinary business, as just a byproduct of another way to participate in and enjoy watching a game played by people who we don't know, who we have no connection to whatsoever, but all of it is based in integrity, all of it's rooted in integrity-based human influence. So the simple question to begin to ponder is, how do you capitalize on this utterly astounding superpower? How do you begin to create that acceleration? Because when you talk about trajectory change, it creates every component of what you would need to create that trajectory change. From Dr. Phil to Oprah, for those that know or study Tony Robbins' work, the power of Tony Robbins' stage, so many people who sell products, who sell services, who engage in anything to do with business would love to be on Tony Robbins' stage. He took a company called Creative Planning, and by being on his stage, Creative Planning increased their asset base. Watch this. Increased their asset base by over $10 billion with a B, $10 billion by being on Tony Robbins' stage, by co-authoring or being, not co-authoring, but being listed in a book of his and then taking his stage, a $10 billion complete trajectory change in their business. So what are we saying here? We're saying a couple of things. Okay. Number one, that your trajectory change is going to be rooted in mastering two things. Your trajectory change is going to be rooted in two things. One, in the ecosystems with which you merge. And two, your ability to go from hello to yes with people. So it's your ecosystem mergers and your integrity-based influence mastery. And any scenario you like, go to Bill Gates and Microsoft. Bill Gates built Microsoft because of his influence mastery, but also because of his ecosystem merger power. Bill Gates walked into Microsoft, got the meeting, and yes, he got the meeting because his mom was on a board that made it more possible for him to get the meeting, but he clearly capitalized on the relationship capital, the fact that his mom had influence within an ecosystem. But then he got the meeting, and not only did he influence his mom, who then influenced the folks at Microsoft, but he had two, so he was merging with the right ecosystem, but he was also having layers and layers of influence mastery at play. One, to influence his mom. Two, his mom to carry that message and influence Microsoft to at least meet and communicate with him. Three, now here's the drop the mic parts. He walked in and he didn't have an operating system. He didn't have it, but he convinced them that they needed it, right? He convinced them that he had it when he didn't. And third, he convinced them that when they wanted to buy it, that instead they should only license it from him. And that's all he would do. So we're about 5 levels deep already in influence mastery for Bill Gates, or examples of his influence mastery. But then go further. He then went out and had to find someone who had it, so he had to influence people to lead him to people. And then he influenced that person to give it to sell it to him instead of license it to him, so he could essentially broker the deal to change his life and at the time, the world. Ecosystem merger and influence mastery. Now let's take that back to a much more simple platform. Because you go, okay, I'm not Oprah, I'm not Bill Gates, I'm not going to meet with Microsoft. Well, I would ask you, like, why aren't you? But that's a story for a different day. So let's come back to this. How did I use these concepts that I'm spouting about specifically? Well, I was 27 years old, and I was sitting in a networking group called BNI, Business Networkers International, and I was studying the work of Tony Robbins and Jay Abraham and Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie. I hadn't even been to any of their seminars. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me that as I was sitting in my networking group, I, like everyone else in my group, was doing it all wrong. We were totally confused. We were wasting our time on networking randomness. Networking randomness. We weren't intentional. I wasn't attempting to merge ecosystems, and I didn't call it ecosystems then, but it was ecosystems. We weren't intentional about it. And all of a sudden I said, I need to become intentional. So for the purpose of this call, briefly today, I became intentional, decided I wanted to represent chiropractors, and I decided that I needed to speak in front of groups of chiropractors. So I had my ecosystem merger intentionality, begin. I worked on my integrity-based influence mastery. I needed to get somebody to say yes to introducing me from my networking group to the Chiropractic Society. I needed to convince them that I had something to offer of value, and I did. I needed to convince them to accelerate the timing of when they would bring me in to speak, because they wanted to do it like 6 months later, and I convinced them to do it in 2 weeks. And then I had my opportunity, and I had to stand up in front of them, deliver massive value with the 10 indispensable elements, the energies, and the steps. And when it was done, not only did I have clients, but I also convinced them that they wanted to bring me in to speak in front of the State Chiropractic Society. And that led to, a short time later, me speaking in front of the State Chiropractic Society, influencing steps in between, delivering massively from that platform, and then in a period a little bit later, well, I had a bunch of clients that came out of it, but also our firm becoming counsel to the New Jersey Chiropractic Society, a relationship that has generated millions of dollars over time. And in fact, when I sold my first law firm, that was the key relationship asset that was sold in the deal. So that is an embodiment and example on a small level of the billions that Bill Gates created that was available to me and is infinitely available to everybody here. And that process now, let's pause. So we're talking about influence mastery, hello to yes, intentional ecosystem merger, which I could tell you 1,000 more stories like it, and I don't mean 900, I mean 1,000. And the question becomes for you today, where can you merge ecosystems? Just think about it for a moment. Where can you merge ecosystems that would make complete sense for you to create acceleration? Where are your potential clients? And if your client's an investor, somebody that you want to partner with, right? A potential person you need to say yes. The ecosystems that you want to say yes to you, where are they? And how do you begin to approach them with your integrity-based influence mastery? Who are you and why do you want them to say? Why would they want to say yes? Why is there value in communicating with you and saying yes to you? Right? Now, in addition, the beginning of integrity-based influence mastery begins with your ability to create emotional rapport. And we're going to pick this up tomorrow with the creation of your emotional rapport, right? Remember, disrupting knowingness. We don't know what we don't know. We don't see what we don't see, right? And with that said, does anybody have any wins, questions, or opportunities that they want to share? We'll have time for one quick question, share, or win. Does anybody have anything out there?
It goes for 15 minutes every day.
I got a quick win for everybody I wanted to share with everybody today.
Yeah, who's that? Is that
Good morning.
Craig?
It's Craig. Yeah. Good
Hey,
morning,
Craig.
Sean. Good morning, everybody. Hey,
Craig
how you
from
doing?
New York. Craig from New York.
Hey,
What's
everyone.
up, brother?
So, as I mentioned to everybody the other day, I had felt that my efforts have been very lacking in this process. And I was very excited to join in and be part of this process and really put forth effort to grow in what we're doing over here. Last night, I got home from work and it was about 8 o'clock our time. I found 5 numbers on the West Coast that were in my roster. I was able to give out calls to all 5 of them. 1 person didn't pick up, 4 people did, and 2 people set up coaching calls with us. 1 person is very excited, and somebody who I spoke to 2 weeks ago messaged me last night saying that they realized that they never got back to me and they want the information to be able to start moving forward. So I am very excited about being able to hand this information over to people, being able to show people, introduce people to the process and all the information that we have that, Sean, that you've put out and you've given us to help people accelerate their business and their life. And it really is working and involving other people in these new mindsets that are really creating shifts in the way that they see everything surrounding them. So that's all I wanted to share.
Craig, that's awesome, brother. Listen, that's awesome, number 1. Number 2, let's all remember that self-mastery is an extraordinary piece of this. This works. It works at insanely accelerated rates. And there's 3 pieces: your process mastery, that you're in marketing, your ecosystem merger world, your influence mastery, hello to yes, but also your self-mastery, getting yourself to act. So fantastic job. And grounding yourself to processes like this, Craig, where each day we're going to get ready to go. We're going to get our acceleration. We're going to be intentional about what we're up to, creates exponential acceleration over time. So fantastic job. Final, remember, it can take, depending upon whether it's marketing touches or sales touches, that's a story for a different day again, 6 to 20 touches of people, connections with people to get a yes. 6 to 20. So if we're willing to engage 6 to 20, be intentional, with our ecosystem mergers and the frictionlessness which we create, those touches, we're going to have massive and exponential success over time. And that's why Rob Gill, as an example, went from 8 to 150 meetings. That's why I went from broke to 40 people working for me to multiple millions of dollars, before my 30th birthday. That's why all those things occurred and will occur for you. Hey,
Yes.
it's Trajectory Tuesday. Anything else, Fernando, you want to add?
I would like just one quick share, one quick, very powerful win. I want to acknowledge Darcy, who's on the call, who is, drenched in self, process, and influence mastery. And for everyone on the call, I want it to be very clear that one of our goals here is to make sure that you tap into your ecosystems, that you begin to create frictionlessness between your ecosystems, that you begin to use influence mastery to help people go from hello to yes. And the goal is to leverage and broker us in service of whatever goals and whatever ecosystems you want to merge. So Darcy was able to send over some leads that she believed could use complimentary coaching calls, which we reached out to no response. She then turned on the nitrous and responded to them in the most beautiful, eloquent, influence mastery way. And now those same people, which I had touched that might have had some friction because of her influence mastery and her process mastery, they're begging to say yes. There's mergers happening everywhere. And she's a great example of what's possible. And I'm going to go ahead and drop those emails in our group chat so you can see how the language of influence mastery works and how people are begging and exciting to say yes when you convey your heroic, unique identity in the way Darcy did. So massive win. I want to show everyone that's
Fernando,
possible.
Fantastic. Darcy, I am so excited. And I was so excited that our entire process, there was a root and some misunderstanding at one point, right? And then there was right integrity-based influence mastery going on, helping each other see what we weren't seeing. And now we're here, and it's only beginning. And the promise that I'm making to everyone, this is a bold one, but a real one, is there is no better place, system, or process that exists on Earth. Like, this is the formula of formulas to create the acceleration you're looking for. And if we depart from here and head elsewhere, all we're going to find is some dopamine. Dopamine is very addictive, right? Dopamine we get from heroin. Dopamine we get from alcohol. Dopamine we get from picking up on men or women, like dopamine, right? Dopamine we get from smoking. Dopamine we get from watching football. But dopamine we also get from popping from personal development information to personal development information. And a lot of folks out there are addicted to jumping around in the world of personal development to get their next empty hit of dopamine. This is not empty dopamine. This is mastery. This is acceleration. This is more money in less time with more magic. I promise I wouldn't be doing this. There's a lot of ways I can make a lot more money than doing this. This is my life's work and mission, is to build this platform to help people in a capitalist system get what they want. More meetings of higher quality with less money, time, and energy investment. This is the space. I'm grateful for your trust. We're building something extraordinary with you in your life and business and for people. Hey, it's Trajectory Tuesday. Have an amazing and incredible day. Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone, for
guys.
being
Thank
here.
you.
Blessings. Bye, Darcy.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, everyone. Have an amazing day.
Bye.
Mhm.